Hi, Dr. J here, speaking to you from the Brain Wealth and Longevity Facebook group. As you know, I'm a functional medicine doctor. I have lots of years, many years of training related to the brain and immune system, inflammation, etc. One of the great schools that I have studied at is Functional Medicine University, and they have many different educational lectures and series of programs outside of the regular curriculum that talk about the brain and brain degeneration. Now, this is one that I have seen numerous times, and because they are having a Functional Medicine University open enrollment coming up very soon, they are reissuing various lectures that only students and those who have subscribed are supposed to have access to, but I am able to give you the opportunity to watch and learn from this entire lecture if you have interest in it. So contact me at mybrainwealth@gmail.com with your email, and also I can, if you're interested in getting the link to this lecture, or if you're interested in enrolling in Functional Medicine University, I can give that information to you. So this is a 57 or 59-minute long, high-level professional lecture on brain deterioration and some of the underlying causes, all of which I include as part of my Brain Wealth program. As you know, there are 12 different spokes that I talk about that are some of the key elements that cause your brain and your body to degenerate early on, causing either a slow or a precipitous decrease in your brain function, leading to Alzheimer's, dementia, and other brain dysfunctions. So I'm just doing a few excerpts out of this lecture. If you have more interest in learning about it, learning the details of a couple of the steps, or at least a small portion, just a little sliver of a slice of the in-depth, detailed aspects that I go into with my patients, with my clients, to see if they may be having these kind of predictors and pre-causes of brain degeneration without necessarily noticing symptoms already. But anyway, that's my purpose, to help you understand what's going on and why you should take care of your brain now, why you should always take care of your brain, and not let it get to the point where many of my patients have, new patients, people who let their brain degenerate so far that they're having memory problems, they're having difficulty with directions, remembering names, remembering a wide variety of different things, how to get back home. And that's when they start to come in. As a little late, we can make some major improvements. We can slow down the process, but it's time now for you personally to take care of your health, take care of your brain, treat it seriously now, even though you may not think anything's wrong. There are a lot of ways we can test and see what might be going on underneath the surface that may take 15, 20-year progression. And then all of a sudden, bam, you can no longer recover from that. Your brain, your nervous tissues have degenerated to the point where they cannot recover. We don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to live a fulfilling, long, exciting life with high quality up until the moment that you move on. And I want you to be able to preserve all of your faculties and preserve whatever your legacy funds are that you have accumulated over the years, perhaps to pass on to family, to pass on to charity, rather than passing it on to the memory care facilities, which may end up being your future location of living in and being taken care of if you do not take care of your brain now. So here's the excerpts. I hope you enjoy it. Get back to me if you want to actually watch the entire thing. Thanks a lot. It's Dr. Jay Sordian.
Thank you, Dr. It's always a pleasure, and it's actually I'm really quite thrilled to be on the faculty of Functional Medicine University and on the advisory board is if you want to know what's impacting on the brain, this is the one thing. Now, the journal Pediatrics. If you publish in the journal Pediatrics, you've scored. You know, that's a feather in your cap to be accepted into a first-tier journal like that. But this article was not an author publishing an opinion. This was a policy statement from the board of the American Academy of Pediatrics, meaning they want everyone to know this. This is a policy statement. And what they talked about was the Toxic Substance Control Act, which is still the regulating guidelines at the federal level about chemicals being introduced into our environment. Still, this is it. And they say it failed miserably to protect our children, pregnant women, and the general population from hazardous chemicals. Failed miserably. The lobbyists for the chemical industry were extremely successful in paying off the senators and paying off the representatives to pass this legislation. Excuse me for being so bold, but wait till you see what the results were of this being the governing act protecting our environment from chemicals being introduced into the marketplace. Its processes are so cumbersome that in its more than 30 years, TSCA has been used to regulate only 5 chemicals or classes of chemicals of the tens of thousands that are in commerce. Why? Because you have to prove that the amount of chemical you're exposed to, BPA, when you're drinking water out of a plastic water bottle, and the BPA that leaches into that water, you have to prove that that amount of BPA is toxic to humans. Well, there's no evidence that the amount of BPA that leaches out of water bottles and that's drank by humans is toxic to humans. There's no evidence. Costs of TSCA safety testing are borne by the public. Manufacturers are not required to test the chemicals that they put into the marketplace or to collect data from tests. This is as ridiculous as vaccine manufacturers are not responsible for any side effects. Really, what a cakewalk that is, right? You know, that I'm not pro or anti-vaccine. I'm saying you produce a product that harms people, and you're not responsible. Don't worry about it. You're not responsible. That was very successful lobbying. The same thing happened here with manufacturing of chemicals. Without sufficient information on the safety or health effects of chemicals, it's impossible for the EPA to engage in appropriate regulation. The TSCA places the burden of obtaining information about potential toxicity of a chemical on the public, not the government, on the public, rather than the manufacturer. And it's 27 trillion pounds of chemicals manufactured or imported into the United States every year. That number didn't mean anything to me until I divided it by 365 days. That comes out to 74 billion pounds. And then I divided that number by the population of the United States. That's 247 pounds per person per day of chemicals manufactured and imported in the United States. And that doesn't include fuel, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, or food products. 5 50-pound bags a day. It's the flame retardant chemicals that are in the sheets that you sleep in, and the blankets that you cover yourself with, and the comforters that outgas into the air. Now, there's no evidence that the amount of flame retardant chemicals that outgas out of a down comforter is toxic to humans. It's the formaldehyde out of the pressboard furniture if you don't have solid wood furniture for your kitchen cabinets or your bathroom cabinets. It's the formaldehyde that outgasses into the air. Now, there's no evidence that the amount of formaldehyde that outgasses out of kitchen cabinets and is inhaled by humans is toxic to humans. You understand how they get away with this? It's so bad that we know now, and you've seen the studies, depending on the study, 200 to 280 chemicals are in every newborn child's umbilical cord at birth. 200 chemicals that are not supposed to be there. And many of these are neurotoxins. I'll show you some examples. Children are not little adults. You can read all this about how kids are much more sensitive to the effects of the environmental chemicals that they're exposed to than adults. And looking at the World Health Organization, this is their 2019 statistics. What they tell us is that 26% of all deaths of children between the ages of 0 and 4 are environmental deaths. 1/4 of every death is an environmental death. Increase the age 0 to 14 and it's more than 1/3 of all the deaths of children on the planet are environmental deaths. Now, let's bring it a little closer to home. And this slide's a little outdated. The current numbers from the CDC are now 1 in 36. When I came out in practice in 1980, it was, I've been around 40 years at this. I'm an old guy. When I came out in practice, it was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 36. The brain is the yellow canary in the coal mine. The Alzheimer's Association came out last year, 2019, with a booklet, and this is in the booklet. This is a page from their booklet. 1 in 3 seniors dies with Alzheimer's or another dementia. And they showed this graph that in the last 15 years, from 2000 to 2015, breast cancer went down 1%, prostate cancer down 7%, deaths from heart disease down 11%, from stroke 16%, from HIV 55%, deaths from Alzheimer's up 123%. 1 in 3 dies, 1 in 3 elders die with Alzheimer's or another dementia. That means between you, Dr. Grisanti, and me, one of us is going down with dementia. And it ain't going to be me. And hopefully not you either. But those are the numbers. Look at this slide, once again, from the Alzheimer's Association. In the next 7 years, well, now it's 5 years, the projected increase in Alzheimer's dementia by state. This study, 346 pregnant women in Chicago. They measured their urine in the 8th month of pregnancy. They categorized the results into quartiles, the lowest 4th, the next, the 3rd, and the highest 4th. They then followed the children, the offspring, for 7 years. When the kids turned 7 years old, they did Wechsler IQ tests on them. There's not much in medicine that's all or every, but this was every. Every child whose mother was in the highest quartile versus the children in the lowest quartile. Their IQ was 6.7 to 7.6 points lower. Now, that doesn't mean anything to anybody until you understand a 1-point difference in IQ is noticeable. A 7-point difference is the difference between a child working really hard, getting straight A's, and a child working really hard, getting straight C's. That kid doesn't have a chance in hell because his brain never developed properly because mom was in the highest quartile of phthalates in urine in pregnancy. Now, when this is done tonight, in the next 10 minutes we'll be done, go to Google and type in phthalates and neurogenesis. Here come the studies, how phthalates inhibit neurogenesis. Mom accumulated phthalates over 25 years of using nail polish, over a lifetime of plastic storage containers for leftover food. Go to your coffee shop, put a lid on the coffee. The heat from the coffee, the steam condenses on the underside of the lid, drips back down into coffee full of phthalates. Put the coffee cup up to your lips. The hot liquid hits the underside of the lid, tapers down into the opening so you can drink it, full of phthalates. Plastic blinds in your home outgas phthalates into the air. You're inhaling those phthalates. Well, I don't smell it. There's no evidence that the amount of phthalates that you breathe in from the outgassing of plastic blinds is toxic to humans. That's how they get away with this.